Hey guys, what's up? It's Miss Cameron. We're coming back to another video today. We hope you guys are having fun at home. You're doing all your schoolwork. You're maybe watching our videos when you see them posted. We're trying to put 3 videos out a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but today we are going to talk about energy. Energy is all around us. There's a lot of different types of energy and we can use it for a lot of different things. So without further ado, we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the conservation of energy. Okay, so energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's merely transferred through systems. So if you think about it, if you think about photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide cycle, the water cycle, things like that, that all kind of transfers through systems. So in photosynthesis, the energy starts from the sun, it goes into the leaves of the plant, and then the leaves make glucose, which is sugar. So it also releases oxygen and carbon dioxide as a byproduct. So that energy is constantly being used in some form or fashion, okay? So the next thing we're going to talk about is that there are 2 different types of energies that we basically use on a daily basis. The first one is potential energy, and that is energy that is stored within an object. So it is not moving, but it is capable of becoming active. So a cool demonstration we have for this today is a roller coaster. So this is recently built. I just finished it this week. It's kind of been my project as we're up here. So if you move the roller coaster car up to the very, very top, okay? At the highest point, that is when you have the maximum potential energy, because the roller coaster car, it's not moving. So if you think about when you go on a roller coaster, you go up to the very, very top of that roller coaster hill and you kind of stop and you're like, oh my gosh, am I stuck? What's going on? You're looking over the side, you're getting that knot of anticipation in your stomach and you're just like, what is going on? Okay. Whenever you start to tip, you're converting into kinetic energy. And what kinetic energy is the energy of motion, okay? So changes in kinetic energy also change states of matter, which we'll talk a little bit later on in this video. So whenever I give it a little push, it's converting into kinetic energy, boom, okay? I'll be nice and let y'all see the motorized version as well. Let me just move them back up here. Pretty cool to see that roller coaster in action. So that is potential and kinetic energy. There's another type of energy that these 2 share. So that is mechanical energy. That is energy stored in objects by tension. So compressed strings or springs, slinkies, stretched rubber bands, things like that. Those all have that stored energy in it. All right, so let's get to the fun part. So we're going to talk about all the different types of potential energy that we use on a daily basis. Okay, the first one is gravitational energy, okay? So that is energy stored in an object's height, okay? So if you think about when things fall, so I have a racquetball and I have a ping pong ball. I want you at home to stop and think which one is gonna hit first if I drop them from the same height, okay? Give you a few seconds to make your predictions. All right, so one has more mass than the other. The racquetball has more mass and it's a little bit heavier than the ping pong ball. So kind of take that into your consideration as well. All right, I'll drop them in 3, 2, 1. Which one do you think dropped first? Do you think the ping pong ball dropped first? Did the racquetball drop first? Does the mass of the object have to do anything with how fast it falls? Well, I'm here to answer your question. And everything on this earth falls at 9.8 meters per second squared. That is the acceleration of gravity. So everything falls at that rate, okay? So that's gravitational energy. Same thing works for the pendulum as well. Forgot to mention that. So I'm glad I looked down. So whenever you're working with the pendulum, it's at its highest point right here. This is a Newton's cradle actually. It's at its highest point. So when it's at its highest point, it has maximum potential energy. So if I let it go, I know all you kids at home like this, so I'm gonna let it go for a couple more seconds. All right, I'll stop it. So like I said, at its highest point, that is the maximum amount of potential energy and there's no kinetic energy. If you've ever looked at a pendulum or a Newton's cradle before, it kind of looks like it stops once it gets to the highest point of its swing. And that is true, it does stop. And when it gets to its lowest point of its swing, it has the maximum amount of kinetic energy and the least amount of potential energy because it is in that downward motion of its swing. pretty cool. All right, so the next type of energy we're going to talk about is nuclear energy. So that is energy released by a nuclear reaction, either through nuclear fission or nuclear fusion. Fission means coming apart, nuclear fusion is coming together, and used as a power source. So about 20% of our power source in the US is nuclear energy, okay? So these nuclear power plants that you see around, they use an element called uranium, and what happens is they use that uranium to create heat and electricity, and that is what is helping to produce some of our electricity here in the United States. The next one we're going to talk about is chemical energy, and I have a little special guest I want to introduce to you today, and that is Miss Rocha.
Hello guys, my name is Mrs. Rocha. I'm actually one of the teacher's assistants here at STARBASE. So I'm going to do a quick chemical reaction. It's called elephant's toothpaste. I'm sure all of you have mostly seen it. Right here, I'm just getting my catalyst ready. And this is the elephant toothpaste. So chemical energy is, as you can see, energy stored in the bonds of atoms and molecules that can be released during a chemical reaction. So in this flask, I have hydrogen peroxide, which is what you use when you're doing like, you need antiseptic to clean your wounds and stuff. That's at a lower percent. This is at 40%, and so this is what you'll see in like salons when you dye your hair and stuff like that. So that's hydrogen peroxide, and that's very toxic to the hand, so you want to make sure that you're being safe with it, and you've got safety goggles, because it can, if it comes into contact with your skin, you can get a skin burn. So hydrogen peroxide is this molecule right here. It has 2 oxygen and 2 hydrogen. And what else we have in here is blue dye just to make it more visible. And then we have a little bit of dish soap in here. So I swished it around in here, and that's to make the foam. And this right here is the catalyst of the reaction, the most important part. It helps the chemical reaction go. So like I said, there is hydrogen peroxide in here. And when I add the catalyst, it's gonna make that chemical reaction go. So I have my safety glasses, which is my own glasses. And ready?
I'm
Hopefully
ready.
It works, Miss Cameron.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh,
I like that you picked the blue.
it's successful.
All right, guys, so a cool fact about chemical energy is the most used type of energy we use in the world. That's pretty crazy. And as I just mentioned, 20% of our energy goes to nuclear energy. So I would say probably 75% of our energy is chemical. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Miss Rocha.
You're welcome.
I'll turn this off now. All right, guys, so that was chemical energy. We also use chemical energy when we eat food. So those compounds in your food that you're eating, once they get to your stomach acid, they break down and they rearrange and they form new compounds, and then those nutrients are sent to wherever you need them in your body to be used. So we also use those for energy as well. So the next type of energy we're going to talk about is the types of kinetic energy. And if you remember, kinetic energy was the energy of motion. So as that roller coaster car was going all around the track, it was using kinetic energy. Same thing when the pendulum is moving on this Newton's cradle. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about in the kinetic category is light energy, and that is energy in a form that can radiate or travel in waves, generally electromagnetic energy, such as energy from the sun. So we do have a couple of demonstrations for y'all today. So what we have here, I don't know if y'all can see it very well. What we have here is we have a cricket that has a solar panel on top. And what's going to happen is here in just a second, I'm going to put another form of light energy directed at this solar panel, and we're going to see if this cricket will move. Whenever we have kids come through this program, we typically take them outside and we let them use energy from the sun. So let's see what we have here. So what I have here is I have a laser. Okay, so light travels in waves. So light energy is the only form of energy we can see with the human eye. So like we have lights in our rooms, anywhere we go, cars have lights, flashlights, things like that. So let's see if we can get this cricket to move. All right. Oh, you have a prediction at home if you're watching? All right, let's see. So it did work. So if you see, it is vibrating around, moving around. Its little antennas are going everywhere. Antennas like to fall sometimes and make it to where it doesn't move. But it is vibrating, if you can see very, very closely. We also use solar cars here that we take outside, but it has been kind of rainy, cloudy here lately, so they haven't been working as well. All right, so that was light energy. The next type of energy we're going to talk about is sound energy. So that's energy present in a sound wave. So what I have here, I have tuning forks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these. You use these in music, things like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strike this one upon this one, and then I want you to see if you can see which one is vibrating, okay? 1, 2, 3. All right, so what happens is when you strike these together, it creates vibrations. And those vibrations are, they are moving the molecules around in the air, and so what happens is these particles, they're bouncing off of one another, and they're bouncing, and they're just going to continue that chain reaction until it runs out of energy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to strike them one more time, and I'm going to count how many seconds it takes for it to stop vibrating, okay, until I can see it stop vibrating. All right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it took about 8 seconds. I can still kind of feel this one vibrating in my hand, but I was just going off the visual. So like I said, those particles are moving around in the air, they're bumping around, and they're bumping around, and they're bumping around, and then it eventually runs out of energy, which is causing the vibrations to stop. And a cool thing about sound is those particles are traveling, and those waves are traveling, and they're going through your ear canal, and they're hitting your eardrum, and then your eardrum is registering that as sound. It's going down your auditory nerve and going through these little hairs in your ears and the little bones in your ears, and that is what is helping your brain to register that as sound. I'm sure you will learn more about that when you get into your upper level classes in like high school, and you take anatomy, you learn about the human body, things like that. It's a really cool process. All right, let's move on to the next type of energy. That is thermal energy, the internal heat in substances caused by vibration, friction, or the movement of atoms and molecules. So as temperature rises, so as objects get hotter, if you think about states of matter, the more kinetic energy you apply to something, the state of matter tends to go from solid, liquid, and gas. So as you're increasing your kinetic energy, those molecules in there are moving around super, super fast, okay? Same thing, I don't know if you can see in this diagram here. You want to zoom in for me? So what we have is we have a metal coil that's being heated up. So if you look closely, we have dropped, not us, but the people in the video, they have dropped a metal cylinder into that coil. That coil is getting so hot that whenever it starts to move around and vibrate and things like that, it starts to liquefy. So it's getting so hot and the kinetic energy is increasing that it is changing from a solid to a liquid. That is what you see going splat on the ground. And a lot of kids always ask, why does it change colors? Well, if you think about fire, when it gets really hot, what color does it turn? It should turn blue, okay? So same thing with this. Once it reaches its melting point, it gets super hot, then it's turning pink. And you're also probably asking at home, why is it just kind of hovering there? Well, whenever it gets so hot, it's creating a magnetic field, and that magnetic field is what is helping to kind of rotate it in there, and then it falls down to the floor once it liquefies. So that is thermal energy. That is one example we have. Another example we have is Snappy Heat. This is one of the most common attractions here at STARBASE. So what happens is these are reusable hand warmers, not like the ones you can get at Walmart where you break them, put them in your pocket, you leave them alone, they get super hot, you can only use them once. These are reusable. So if you look closely, there is a metal disc. What we do with this metal disc is we just simply pop it, and then if you look, you can see it start to crystallize inside the pack. It's getting really hot, so it's creating thermal energy. So those particles in there are moving around, which is causing the temperature to rise, and it is giving off heat. Pretty cool. And then how we get these to go back to normal, how they're reusable, is you just boil them in water. Yep, these are a very common attraction at STARBASE. A lot of the kids always ask, can I give you 25 cents for one? It's pretty funny. All right, guys, so the next type of energy we're going to talk about is electrical energy. That is energy made available by the flow of electrons through a conductor. So the more energy, the faster it's going to go. So what I have here is I have a circuit board. I'm sure you're very familiar with these, all you kiddos watching at home. So the object of the circuit board is you have your power source, which is your battery, also converting chemical energy into light energy. So the object is you have to attach all these different pegs in order to get this light to turn on. Sometimes we have multiple lights on here, sometimes we just have the one, like right now. And then what you do is you take these little pieces, which I've already completely put it all together except this one piece, is you just snap it on and your light should turn on. Your light will turn on if your circuit is completely attached all the way around, okay? So when we talk about circuits, if I take this piece off, the light goes off. This is considered an open circuit because there is not a complete pathway for that electricity to go through. That electricity from these batteries can't jump from this point to this point. It has to have a complete circuit. So this right now is considered an open circuit because there's not a flow of electricity completing the entire circuit. But when I put this little piece back on, we have a complete circuit, which is helping the electricity to flow all the way through, which is helping the light to turn on. So this is something we do very often up here at STARBASE with the kids, are these circuit boards. You can make them as complex as you want, as easy as you want. Another example we have is an energy stick, and the kids always ask me if I have one of these, and I always have to explain that sometimes it makes noise and sometimes it doesn't because Miss Cameron has a tendency to drop things. So what happens is if I put one hand on one end of the energy stick, this is considered an open circuit right now because you're supposed to put your other hand on this end, but I'm just kind of showing what an open circuit is using my human body. So when I put my other hand on, it becomes a closed circuit. Oh, it worked today. That's awesome. So if you see, I'm making a circuit, it's making noise and it's lighting up. When I take my hand off, what happens? Well, I don't have that complete circuit to have that flow of electricity through it. What's really cool is we had a group of 40 kids come through here one day. We all held hands and we had one kid hold one end and then I held the other, and we completely made a circle holding hands, and using 40 kids, we made this energy stick light up. It was a pretty awesome thing to see. So that is another type of energy we use, is electrical energy. So I think that is all the types of energy we're going to talk to y'all about today. So we hope that you have learned something. Something else we are doing with these videos is we are making worksheets, okay? These will be attached to the video. If you have looked at the, I think it was the video we did before this, there is the density video, there is a worksheet that you can print out or just do on your iPad, draw it in there, whatever you want. You can go along and do this activity after you've watched the video, or maybe you just want to print out the activity sheet and do that. That's a-okay too. So make sure you print these out. These are really cool. There's a lot of activities that we're going to be putting out here pretty soon. All right, so now it's time for announcements. I have been given a lot of announcements today, okay? So starting Monday, March 30th, we will not be up here at this STARBASE building. We will have to start teleworking. And what that is we're gonna have to start working from home. Our base access is starting to be limited due to COVID-19. So we're just trying to be precautious and stay home and social distance ourselves so we can stay healthy, because we want to get back to where we have kids. We miss you dearly. We miss having kids up here. Every day we're like, where are the kids? So we miss y'all dearly. Another announcement we have is we are making a YouTube channel. We already have it up and live. It should be STARBASE Goodfellow. Don't quote me on that. We'll put the link down below. And then another thing I want to address is I hope you're washing your hands and staying safe among the COVID-19 crisis. We enjoy making these videos. Even though we will be teleworking from home, we're still going to be making videos. We'll have Wild Wednesdays with Mr. Maddox. We may have some 3D printing videos. I may make some solar s'mores for y'all. Miss Cameron's gonna try to be very proactive and make a lot of fun videos for y'all, and so is the rest of the STARBASE staff. I hope you like these videos, and we hope to see you soon. If you have any kind of suggestions or any ideas that you want to see from us, please let us know down below. We love hearing from you guys. Also, if you fill out these worksheets, take a picture of it and upload it. There are some where you get to draw pictures and things like that. Show us what you're making, show us what you're doing, and things you find around your house on these worksheets. So with that being said, I hope to see you all soon. So bye guys.